Man, half amazing. Vince Carter is back, ladies and gentlemen. We also have two-time WNBA All-Star Chiney Ogwumike and Mr. Carry-On himself, Kendrick Perkins, with the finger guns. Plus, Brian Windhorst on Damian Lillard's injury and his future in Portland. And as mentioned, Adrian Wojnarowski will be live on the Cam Reddish to the Knicks trade and much more. But speaking of the Nets, they had a big win last night in Chicago, so let's get to the United Center. Kyrie Irving was available to play in this game, and so was Kevin Durant, who has been keeping the Nets afloat all season long. There we see DeMar DeRozan. Let's skip ahead to the second quarter because this dunk from Zach LaVine, we got to see that again because it was so good, and there really wasn't much good for Chicago last night. So let's go to the third quarter. It's tough to get to the upper room.
Yeah, but he can get there.
But if there was an upper room for passing, I think James Harden might be in it. He was on fire, Chiney.
Third quarter, James Harden passing was great. Kevin Durant had 17 points in the third quarter alone, but that's what he did. He knocked down threes, 5 on the night, and that would make me mad too.
Well, it's actually really challenging to rip a towel in half like that.
Very hard.
Of course, so shout out DeMar DeRozan, but also shout out Kevin Durant because he was cooking all night.
But then Kyrie, this is, I guess you can say quiet night, but that's what he does best, finish at the rim.
Well, the Bulls, they were outscored 39-19 in the third quarter. And then it went from bad to worse. James Harden out on the break.
Oh, when he's doing this, you know you won the game.
And they win, they did. Billy Donovan scratching his head. Nick Claxton likes it. Here's the Brooklyn Nets after the game.
Are you surprised at how quickly you guys are back in sync like that?
Nah, like we're that good.
Durant and Harden combined for 52 points. What a performance by Brooklyn tonight.
I think last year we probably had 15 games maybe together. And this year only 2. You know what I mean? We haven't had a real bulk of a season just to where it's like, all right, y'all can consistently see how great we can be.
You know, we got our ass kicked tonight. Let it sink in, let it suck, let it hurt. Understand we got a butt whoop.
It's going to be difficult for teams to load up and make adjustments on the fly when you have me, James, and Kay out there playing. We're in that flow where it gets dangerous for other teams or our opponent.
So the Nets are now 13-3 when KD, Harden, and Kyrie all play. But Wednesday might have been their best game together. It was the team's biggest win and their second most points scored in any game with the Big Three on the court. And statistically, this was the best win of the Big Three era in Brooklyn. But what does this actually mean for their future, right? They're fully healthy on the court. Kyrie, I'm kind of looking at you here. But when they are, can they beat anyone? Vince, since you're not here very often, I'm going to start with you and then roll on down the line.
They absolutely can beat anyone. And I tell you what, they asked, you guys haven't been together, but they understand how to play together. They love each other. They love playing with each other. That's all they've said. You guys have heard them. It's like, we love having Kyrie back. And when Kyrie gets back, it's contagious. You can see how they play. They play freely. They play with a lot of fun. Everybody's picking each other up off the floor. Because they know they can score individually, they can score as a unit, and then you put 2 rookies in the game and they have career nights. Just do your job. Set screens and roll sharp. You get all the dunks. The other young fella, you get open threes. And this team now, if they can play defense like they played, look out for the Brooklyn Nets.
Absolutely. Your question being, can any other team beat them if they're healthy? And I think the answer here is probably not, because you look at the backcourt. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they're like your favorite hooper's favorite hooper. Like, they're able to get jiggy with it in isolation. I know I'm speaking in the locker room, in isolation in a way that it's completely unguardable. You look at Phoenix. I love Devin Booker. I love Chris Paul and Mikal Bridges. But then one-on-one, when it comes to the game getting slowed down and you're in isolation, these guys are built for this, and they're built different. You look at the Warriors. Yes, I love that Klay's coming back, but he is still coming back. It's going to be adjustment for the long term. Steph Curry, he's a star. I don't even have to say anything. But maybe is it Jordan Poole? You don't know who that next person is that can go toe to toe with one of those big 3. The question is availability. It's not if they are talented enough.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to overreact to the win and say that no one could beat them. But I will say this. Last night, they played a beautiful brand of basketball. They were passing up good shots to get great shots. And like Vince said, when you have young fellas, the rookies having career highs, you saw with Patty Mills knocking down open corner threes. I believe they had 35 assists on the night. Like, it was ball and player movement. And just think about this for a minute. And I'm not saying taking anything away from the Nets. But the Bulls were actually coming off a back-to-back.
Yes.
At halftime, the score was 62-60. All of a sudden, people don't realize how back-to-backs affect you. But all of a sudden, you could see the Bulls ran completely out of gas. Like their shots were short and everything else. But when it comes down to the Bulls, the Nets, the Bucks, I mean, hey, it's up for grabs to me because I'm not counting out Giannis.
Can I add one thing?
Never count out Giannis.
And the Nets did the right thing, though. Like, in back-to-backs, what do coaches say at halftime? Let's pick up our pressure, get into the legs, and wear them down. And they did just that. They were getting into the star players, Levine, as well as DeRozan, making the shots tough for them.
No Caruso.
No Caruso, and shots started falling short. And you have to give credit to their guys who just understanding their role, just going out there defending. They had guys just come in just to defend their best players, meaning the Bulls, and shut them down, and it was a different second half.
Right, and the Bulls, they still sit on top of the Eastern Conference. And I saw something on Twitter last night that I kind of buy. Do the Bulls really want the false confidence of beating the Nets or the confidence of beating the Nets 3 times in the regular season? You want a little towel tearing. You want something that you have to avenge. But it feels like whenever we have this discussion about the Nets, about Kyrie, about his return, I seem to be asking, okay, what does Irving being back on the court mean for James Harden? So what did we see? How did we see that manifest last night, Janae?
It's the best version of James Harden, which may not be perfect, but can I break it down, Malika? Because I want to show you guys exactly.
Break it down.
We all know James Harden is a bucket and he had the 3-point shot going, but it was what he did for other players not named Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant. So my producer, all right, look, first let me show you this graphic. First and foremost, men lie. Women, no, we don't lie, but for the sake of it, women lie maybe sometimes, not me or Malika, but numbers don't. 13 of James Harden's 16 assists went to players not named Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. So look at this, it's impressive. Daron Sharp had 20 points. Patty Mills, I believe he came off the bench, was 21 points in 22 minutes. That is effective off of James Harden's dimes. So let me show you exactly how he got it done. This was primarily in the pick and roll. Shout out to Sharp for setting great screens. Here's the pick and roll, and this is the big dilemma. It doesn't matter if this is his second or third game back. Zach LaVine has to decide, am I going to help on the roller who might have a layup, or am I going to stay with Kyrie? He makes a business decision, and instead, the play is easy. It's an easy layup. Again, in the pick and roll. Right here, you're supposed to always start inside and then go out so you can make these closeouts, but instead, James Harden makes the perfect read and gets it to KD, who in the third quarter had 17 points.
Too late.
Barbecue chicken, too late. You're right. He's too great. Thank you, Vince. And then, finally, in the pick and roll, watch this. I mean, this is when he's in his bag. 2 guys, eyes here, not even tagging the post player. So you know what this is going to be? This is going to be easy money. James Harden had his way, and I think we're going to see the best version of James with KD and Kyrie spacing the floor and other players hungry. Daron Sharp, Patty Mills, just fantastic performances from them. You're right, Big Perk. This is the best version of the Nets, not necessarily where they all, score points, but where James is leading the way playmaking.
I promise I was listening to you, but I also was sitting here the entire time trying to see if I could rip this towel, and I really can't. Can someone help me?
Let me try.
Sit it on down
You want to try?
Don't throw it over here. I haven't been in the weight room in 5 years.
No, that's hard, right? So I'm
You're
just
not
saying,
ripping a new towel.
what DeMar DeRozan did.
That's a sweat towel.
What DeMar DeRozan did was impressive because I can't rip that in half.
Can
I
you
like
go
to think I'm
first?
strong. It was leg day for me yesterday.
No, I'm past that. I'm past that. The only thing I'm lifting is food. I'm doing a whole lot of arm.
And he was talking about that
Yeah,
before the show. He's like, I'm hungry.
I'm doing a whole lot of arm.
Like I said, I was trying. I guess I got to get my Peloton, my strength classes going because this is. I'm going to work on that tomorrow. So that was challenging. All right, but all of this does come full circle today, right? Because this is actually the 1-year anniversary of Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Shelburne reporting that the Nets agreed to a blockbuster trade to acquire James Harden. So the Nets, they were playing the Knicks that night, and I was in Madison Square Garden covering that game. And remember, the Nets only had 9 players available between the players they traded, the injuries, and remember, Kyrie Irving was not with the team at that point for personal reasons. And at the time, it was murky on where he was and when he would be coming back. And General Manager Sean Marks said that they didn't bring in Harden for insurance on Irving. But in the year since, between injuries and vaccination status, Harden has played in 21 more games in Irving, and that's just in the regular season. So last night, Kyrie addressed his availability for home games. Take a listen.
I tried not to get too emotionally attached to it. Because when I did, then it just felt like I had FOMO, just that feeling of missing out every single day. It was like, man, I just want to be with the guys. I just want to be with the guys. So once I got over that, and then we were able to communicate still, obviously, with just being close to some of the guys on the team, I just felt like we just got closer because now we're dealing with it together.
You know, we got to get Kai, you know, to be able to play home games. And once we get that, then we can really assess it and figure out what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, or, you know, how great we can be.
Still holding out some kind of hope that in some kind of fashion, we'll see Kai play in the
I'm going to give him a shot if I got to.
All right, so we just heard James Harden, but for more on KYRIE, senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski joins me now. So, Woj, are we any closer to seeing KYRIE at Barclays Center?
Well, Malika, the one thing the NBA is making clear is that their guidelines as a league, and they sent a memo to teams back at the beginning of September, that teams had to follow the governance of local municipalities. So if New York City says you cannot play unless you're vaccinated, they're not going to allow teams to pay a fine to allow a player to play. Now, unless that changes, or unless Kyrie Irving gets vaccinated, you know, he's going to continue to be able to only play in most of their road games.
Well, and clearly the Nets are hoping, wishing, James Harden is even offering to give it to him, that he will get that shot so that he is able to be available in more games. Woj, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Please don't go too far. More from you later on in the show. So the Nets, they host the Thunder tonight, and they will be without Kevin Durant, who is resting, and then the Pelicans on Saturday. So no Kyrie in those games, and then they start a 4-game road trip. That's going to take them through Cleveland, Washington, San Antonio, Minnesota. So this will be the longest stretch of what went into this trade.
Well, listen, there's a logjam of young wings in Atlanta. And Kevin Huerter got an extension this offseason, this past preseason. DeAndre Hunter will be coming up next year, who's a player they really value in Atlanta. John Collins, $125 million. There was not really a pathway for Cam Reddish to play a significant role there. And listen, with where their luxury tax is headed, you can't pay everybody. And so they wanted in the marketplace a first-round pick for Cam Reddish. They got it from New York. There's a few other teams who were willing, you know, to give them one. And now Atlanta takes that pick and they use it out to try to do some other deals to improve this team. They want to do some bigger things for a team that certainly got to the conference finals last year. And for New York, you know, they get a chance. They take a run at a 22-year-old, very skilled offensively, who's going to have to get better defensively to play for Tom Thibodeau. He's up for his rookie extension this summer, but the Knicks certainly see as they try to, you know, gather more young assets, you know, a player in Cam Reddish who certainly offensively has shown, you know, some real growth from last year to this year, and he's been healthier this year than he had been earlier in his career in Atlanta.
So that's what went into the deal. Perk, what do you think of the deal?
Well, I think New York, you have a special one. And when you go back and look at that, those 3 players that were at Duke at the same time, from Zion to R.J. Barrett to Cam Reddish, and you could ask either one of them and everybody in the Duke organization, he was the most talented and he's the most skilled player out of those 3. But when I look at this situation for us with the Hawks, I think Travis, the GM, he dropped the ball. And let me tell you why. Because Kevin Huerter had a great series against the Philadelphia 76ers, but it's not about Kevin Huerter. It's about surrounding your superstar, Trae Young, with the pieces that he needs. And with Trae Young, he lacks what? He lacks defense. And it's not a bad thing because he gives you so much offensively. But if you could have saved and waited out on Kevin Huerter and put Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter at those wing positions, now it looks a lot better, because I think the expectations for Kevin Huerter is to kind of be like a Klay Thompson type player. He's not touching that ceiling no time soon. And I just think that Cam Reddish didn't get the foul chance or foul opportunity that he deserved.
Well, I want to also add to that, health is another concern for the Hawks, because Cam has been hurt, DeAndre Hunter has been hurt, Kevin Huerter has been available, and he's played, and he's made efforts defensively. And so I thought after a while it just got stale. It reached its peak with Cam as far as just needing his availability, because he's so good on the ball with his hands and his defensive instincts. And like Woj said, he's gotten better offensively. And while Trae was out, he played some of his best basketball. So at this point, I felt like the Hawks felt it was the right time, while he still had value, to move him and get some pieces that the Hawks needed as well.
And I think what Atlanta would like to do is get out in the trade market and get a little bit older. They've got a lot of very young players. And listen, there were, a number of teams who liked Cam Reddish. The Lakers were still trying to get back involved in a deal here. The Pacers had talked seriously. Some others, there's some teams who Cam Reddish doesn't fit for. But everybody likes first-round picks. And that's what they got from New York here. And so they can use this now as they look to go out between now and the trade deadline and do some bigger things. I think for what their goals were, that first-round pick asset now that they have, New York's pick that they got in a trade with Charlotte, has more value to try to improve this team now.
Right.
That they've got a window here to, want to get better, get back into the postseason, and try to make another run at it in the East.
Well, and the Hawks are 11th in the East, and the Knicks are 12th in the East. So does this move, along with we just heard Adrian Wojnarowski say, there are moves that we know the Hawks, they have said, Travis Schlenk has said it, they are looking to improve this team. Is this, do you think, the start of them rising a bit in the East, Burke?
Who is that, the Hawks? I think it's the start of them actually breaking up and trying to go find new pieces. Now, I'm not Woj. Woj is great at his job. He knows a lot more than me, but I don't think that they're done, in my opinion. But I think New York, I think the Knicks, they have something to be excited about. And I'm going to repeat, I have hope. I have high expectations in this kid, Cam Reddish. When I first saw him, I ain't going to lie, I said, man, he ain't it. And then I started to see certain signs, and I said, man, this guy has a ceiling so high that he's capable of being a guy that can average 25 in this league. Like, his talent is undeniable.
Well, and the Knicks and the Hawks, they both have ambitions of outdoing what they did last year. And so we're seeing them make moves, I expect, between now and the trade deadline to try and do that. But speaking of improvement, kept coming. And so did Russell Westbrook's shots, but he wasn't making them. That'll do it. Russell Westbrook, 8 points, 2 of 14 shooting. We're going to hear from him in just a little bit. And this, dagger. This was the dagger. The Kings, they get a win over the Lakers. Here's Russell Westbrook after the game.
Honestly, I don't like this. The word slump for me is not like something I lean on. I stay locked in. I'm just in the position of trying to figure out the best way to play at the moment. I'll figure it out, and that's that. Make adjustments and figure out ways to be able to, just make a shot. That's it.
I mean, obviously, you put in the work and trust the work that you put into it. So, he's getting some really good looks. They're just not going down for him right now.
All right. I feel like this is deja vu. I'm going to ask the question that I've asked many, many times on this show, but I have a new strategy this time, Big Perk, okay? We've seen you have big lists. Do you have a big plan to fix Russell Westbrook's big issues here?
Absolutely, I do. And here it is, right? I know everybody has been praising LeBron James playing the center position, and it's been great for the offense. But look, move LeBron back to the point. And the reason that I say this is because Russell Westbrook hasn't been knocking down shots. He's been horrible. How about putting him in the pick and rolls and letting him actually roll to the basket, getting easy layups? Something like playing the center position on the offensive end. I watched Billy Donovan do it with Andre Roberson when they were in Oklahoma City. Andre Roberson couldn't shoot. He put him at the 5, let him roll, be a live threat, finish at the basket. Cool. Solve them problems with Russ taking those shots. Number 2, run it. Where's number 2? Here you go. In those bank shots that Russ are taking, the ones that hit in the shot clock.
Yeah, the wings.
Listen, the Lakers should put in place now that every time Russ shoots that shot, he gets fined. Take it out of the repertoire. It's not a good thing for the Lakers, and it's not a good thing for Russell Westbrook. Coming in at number 3, where's that? Run it, run it, run it, run it. More post-ups. More post-ups. Create switches where he get those smaller guards on him, and he's able to tomato chest him and punish him in the paint and get to those easy finishes around the basket. Yeah, or get fouled and Russ make your free throws. That's the adjustments that you have to make. Yes, a lot of it is on Russ, but now it's on Frank Vogel to actually put him in position that he could be successful. Because if Russ is successful, the Lakers are more successful.
And to you, that's the recipe to make Russ as much of a bucket as LeBron James' hat. But do you think that that is the correct recipe, Chiney?
I think so, because when LeBron James is playing the center, I know so. You're right. Let me stand. What do you say? 10 toes? Put 10 toes on it, right? Thank you. Yeah, I think when you have LeBron James at the center, that is convenient because the NBA is primarily small ball, right? So he plays the center. You get more shooting, hopefully. But the reality is when he is setting screens, he's not dictating plays as much. And instead, it's Russell Westbrook. And yeah, it's great when he has 0 turnover games, but when he has 2 for 14 shooting nights, like when we saw yesterday, that is a problem. And you sort of are like, all right, like LeBron James is almost at the point where we say with KD, he can wake up and get a bucket. That's exactly what LeBron James has proven. 19 out of the 30 games that he has played this season, he's had at least 30 points. So at this point, you know he can wake up and get buckets, but more importantly, he needs to make the decisions for this team, which means moving back to point. I love his versatility. That's why we call him the first or one of the early point centers in positionless basketball. But the reality is that he's been best when he leads the squad.
Here's my thing with Russ. First of all, if you're going to play small ball, your team has to defend and allow Russ to get out in transition. The other thing, I like the post-ups, but I'm telling Russ, drive. Start, work your way inside out. Just like what do you tell shooters? Shooters, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, he's a guy that penetrates. Continue to get into the paint, and work your way out. You know, don't settle. And I like the fact that if Russ can get out in transition, he sees some buckets, he gets free throws, he gets to feel good and feel better about himself. When you see the ball go in, we all know that. We see the ball go in, you feel better about your game. But defensively, you're not helping yourselves either. Yes, you're playing small ball, so you should be able to guard the ball. Where they're allowing everybody in their paint, so they're not getting out in transition, and they have to set up against half-court defenses every time. And when they set up against half-court defenses, guess what? They're not playing Russ, and they're making him shoot the three-point shot.
Right.
And so this is why I say, yes, LeBron at center helps them offensively, but it don't help them defensively because they don't have a rim protector.
Well, and then what happens when you're trying to work Anthony Davis back in?
Oh, well, you bring Anthony Davis back in. See, what happened is, what's going on right now is that, I said this before last week or 2 weeks ago on this show, what LeBron James is really showing Anthony Davis is how to embrace the center position.
And they were getting stops, too.
Yeah, but embrace it, AD. Like, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. And still and all, even if you do have Anthony Davis on the floor, you still could stretch him out because I don't believe that Anthony Davis is going to stay in his shooting slump for his three-point shots. We already know his 15-footer is automatic. But have Russ roll into the basket. Help Russ because we didn't came to the conclusion you're not going to be able to trade him. So now you got to figure out how can I get the best version of Russell Westbrook. And I ain't going to even lie. Right now, watching his interviews, listening to him, he looks broken. And now it's on the coaching staff and his teammates to help him.
Yeah, well, and we've seen LeBron James teams get better late in the season. We've seen them make that push. We've seen them overcome things that seemed insurmountable. And this could very well be one of those. So that's Big Perk's big list. And yesterday we also saw some big beef, but we had a little bit of fun. Ja Morant, fan, Grizzlies game, Devin Booker, the Raptors, the mascot. But last night, the Kings, it was the Jumbotron versus Russell Westbrook. So during warm-ups, the Kings Golden One Center's public address system played a snippet of Cold as Ice by Foreigner when introducing Westbrook, and then anointed him the ice-cold player of the game. So here's what Russ said after the game.
Did you hear what they played? They played like Cold as Ice when you got introduced and stuff.
Who? The arena?
Yeah.
That's funny. They played that. I hope they played that the last 14 years, too. It's funny they play it now. That's cute.
Ooh, he said that's cute.
That's cute.
Are you here for this level of shade, Perk?
Yeah, not from the Sacramento Kings. First of all, look, Sacramento, outside before the Knicks took off last year, y'all have been the worst franchise in the NBA. So y'all have no room to throw shade at nobody.
They gotta entertain the fans to come to games.
You don't do it at someone else's expense because they're in no position.
Also, Russ had a point. Like, were you saying this the last 14 years?
That part.
Were you saying this the last 14 years?
I was shady.
No, you were not.
He stopped throwing the shade like just for jokes at Russ. Like he gets it quite a bit more than other NBA players.
Yeah, but
Sacramento, like what?
Yeah, you have to be able to take it, dish it out, all that stuff. But in Vince Carter.
Welcome to the upper room. I pick who's going to take it to the upper room.
Like, bro, did he really try to jump with me?
I did this my rookie year too.
No.
I tell you what, put him on the ground. We call that a body bag. May he rest in peace.
Look at that view right about there. Some people levitate. It's levels to this. He makes it look so easy. Security guard, please open that velvet rope. Bang!
Okay, we back. You know the segment is called the Upper Room, baby. Yes, we got a dunk-filled session for you today. Roll it. See what we have here. Number 1, Miles Bridges, first nominee. Drives to the paint, block, but look where he takes the ball from it. Surprise, surprise, people. Mr. Drummond. Hello, Mr. Drummond.
Every week.
Huh? He should be every week. He just picks up the ball.
Come here, Drummond.
Look where he picks it up from. And his no hesitation. All right. Our next one, Jalen Smith. Run it. Pick and roll. Hello.
I got the big old goggles, so you know I can see.
But here's the thing, though. He said it with his chest when he dunks it. When he dunked, he said, "Yes, I'm gonna be on the upper room." That's what he said. A lot of people say it. He didn't have a chance. All right.
Yes, sir.
Ooh. All right. Our next nominee. Ja Morant. They call it a flotation device. Move your head. Don't hurt yourself, young fella. Look at that. Ooh.
He telling the NBA, raise the rims up.
What did JJ say? Armpits at the backboard.
Raise the rims up.
But you get hurt. Hey,
my goodness.
Man, what's the weather up there, young fella?
Ooh, that look joy.
And our last nominee, Reggie Jackson.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise. Not the baseball player, but the basketball player dunking on the MVP. Reggie Jackson said, I got a little bounce too now.
And
you see, the split, split and take off. Jokic just said, you know what? Let me just take it out real quick. Right there.
The whole goggles with the headband thing.
So I'm going to ask the panel, what do you guys think? Who should be in the upper room?
Ja Morant.
If we say anything different,
Ja Morant.
Yeah, that's
what?
What?
The gavel has been banged.
The gavel has been.
Well, so far we have Mr. Jaylen Brown, Miles Bridges, who has been there. Could he go back? Isaac Okoro, and Mr. John Collins, the Baptist.
Yes.
So, as I think about it and I ponder,
Crazy.
security, please open the gate for who? Mr. John. Young man, welcome to the upper room, baby. And yes, we do have bottle service for you.
Hey.
Upper room, welcome to the dark side.
Man, John, welcome to the dark side. What you said, Ja Morant, welcome. I mean, go get it.
My goodness.
My Perk's brother.
The dark drinks on me.
This might make it to the all-time upper room.
He had to move the eyebrow out the way.
VIP.
Yeah.
The upper room.
That is the VIP section.
Yes.
Vince, are you going to be going up to the upper room today?
Nah, my ankles.
And he got
his ankles hurt.
And he got the
He got the shoes though today.
Yeah, man.
How are you doing? Point game and fifth straight win with exactly 31 points. So, Chene, what's to like about the Hornets this year?
Quietly top 8 in the East. I like their mix of Gordon Hayward, who had 30, Miles Bridges, of course, Mr. Upper Room, 21, Scary Terry Rozier, 22. And then, any night, LaMelo Ball can do things like that, drop dimes and mess around and go for a triple-double.
Well, and then Darius Garland and the Cavs, they beat the Jazz in Utah by 20 points, and he had his first career triple-double with 11 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists. The Jazz fell to 1-4 without Rudy Gobert this season. So, Perk, how important is Rudy to this team?
How important he is. I mean, they need him like old people need soft shoes. We see it, and I think Donovan Mitchell sees it.
Well, maybe if you had soft shoes, Vince, you would have been dunking today. So they beat the Hawks by 24, and it's their second straight 20-point win. They've won 8 of their last 10 quietly, and Tyler Hero has been rolling, averaging 21.5 points in that span. So, Vince, is Hero making a case for Sixth Man of the Year here?
He absolutely is, and I think he's leading in the race right now because he's playing with a lot of confidence, holding the fort down while Jimmy Butler's out.
Well, and last but certainly not least, the Celtics beat the Pacers for their second game in a row behind 34 from Jaylen Brown and 33 from Jason Tatum. So there's something Perk has wanted to see for a while. And speaking of, it's been a little while since I said, hey, Big Perk, can I get a Big Perk tweet? So can I get a Big Perk tweet from this game?
Go ahead and read it, Malika. I have a problem. You know, I don't do the teleprompter. Do your thing.
You don't tell the prompter to do your thing? Fine. Then I'll say it. Jason Tatum with a casual 33-piece spicy. And Jaylen Brown with a solid 34-piece lemon pepper style with the W. That's all I've been asking for, is for them to start dominating together the same. I'm not even going to do the rest. You have to do the
Perk's voice. Same damn time and carry on.
Yeah, see, I can't do the carry on from my gut in the same way.
See, a lot of people around the world, they're like, oh, Perk, I know you just put out a hot take. You want to break the Jays up. But sometimes I do things with a hidden agenda. Okay, I'm invested into the Boston area. I talk to the ownership group almost every other week, right?
Almost every other week.
Yeah, every other week. So what happens is that I want to see them do better. So sometimes you got to ruffle the feathers. And what happened when I said that they needed to be traded? All of a sudden,
they started balling.
One of them needs to be traded. Guess what? They had a meeting together, a one-on-one sit down. They talk things.
And you're taking credit for this?
No, I'm not taking credit for it, but it goes to show us all that these young guys are paying attention to what people are saying.
Well, we know Jason Tatum went back at you on Twitter.
Yeah, but he also said I have no problem with Perk, and I also talked to Jason.
Now we're
Tatum.
talking in the third person.
But that's what he said, though. That's what he said. So here's the thing. Although it was the Pacers, I still want to see more of it. And at the end of the day, if you can keep those two together, keep them together, I'm perfectly fine with it, but I need to see it more.
Okay, well, I just learned that all of us need to be keeping an eye on Perk and his hidden agenda here, because I don't know when that's coming
with the
for
Celtics
us.
team.
You just never know.
Absolutely.
Never know.
All right, let's move on to the six-time All-Star Damian Lillard, who our Brian Windhorst reported is planning to have surgery to address his abdominal injuries. His sources told Windhorst that the procedure is likely to keep Lillard out at least 6 to 8 weeks. He last played on December 31st. Portland is in 10th place in the Western Conference, and the team is 4-7 without Lillard this season. So for more on this story, I'd like to now welcome in our NBA insider, Brian Windhorst. So Brian, do you get the sense that this is an injury that's something that could cause the Blazers to hold Lillard out for the rest of the season?
Yeah, Malika, this isn't a season-ending injury, but it's probably a season-ending situation. The Blazers have just had nothing go their way this year. C.J. McCollum is out with the lung issue. And look, let's just be honest. They are in 10th place right now, and they are one of the worst road teams in the NBA. They are 2-13 on the road, and I'm here to tell you they have played 10 more home games than road games. You don't have to be an expert at prognosticating to predict that's probably going to go sideways without Dame over the next 2 months. So between now and the trade deadline of February 10th, Joe Cronin, their acting general manager, is going to have to take a very close look at this roster and see what changes they want to make, because they do have a window here, because their draft pick is lottery protected. Sliding out of the playoffs and resetting next year with a healthy Dame Lillard might not be the worst idea.
Well, Dame is also extension eligible this offseason. So how does this injury impact his future plans here?
Yeah, so this is something that obviously we're talking about a $100 million decision in the offseason to add 2 years to his contract. That is obviously going to be something discussed very deeply in the coming weeks. However, in talking to folks around Dame, this is not something that Dame is worried about. Dame is trying to get healthy. Dame wants to remain in Portland, and the contract extension will come as a normal course of business. As most players who have 2 years left on their contract, stars, guys like Jimmy Butler, who did the exact same thing last summer, they will talk about it, but it is not something that is a guiding principle, I am told.